Hello and welcome to Barron's Restaurant at the Conrad N Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management at the University of Houston. My name is Christy Baker and I'm one of the lecturers here. Here at Barron's, we teach students how to work and run a restaurant from the front of the house to the back of the house. I've created several short training segments to help our students and any beginning server learn the proper steps of service. Today, we'll be talking specifically about how to take a food order and then deliver that food order to the table. Let's start with a quick review of taking an order. We want to start with ladies first, go oldest to youngest if we can tell, talk to the guest one-on-one, moving up to their side. This allows for a one-on-one interaction and it allows you to hear the guests better. This is particularly useful when there are large parties. It helps prevent breaking up the interaction that they're having with one another, and it allows the guests to hear you and for you to hear them. We want to write the order down and repeat the order back to the guests. Now let's talk specifically about some of the things that might come up when taking a food order. Here in Barron's, we need to know when and when not to ask the guests which side they would like with their order. We also need to know what sides are available, just in case the guest wasn't anticipating that question. Another question we might want to ask is if a guest orders a burger. Our basic hamburger and cheeseburger comes with lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and pickles. We want to let the guests know that and ask if they want all of those items. It's simply wasteful to bring them out if they don't intend on using them. For our specialty burgers, they do not come with lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and pickles, so the guests might request those. We want to make sure and write those requests down, and then bring them in properly to the point of sale system. In addition to choice of side and additional accoutrements that the guests may or may not want, we also need to be able to ask the guests if they want to add on different items or courses. For example, our pasta dishes do not come with a choice of side, so that might be an excellent upsell opportunity. Asking the guests if they would like to add on one of our sides of either vegetables, soup, or something else for a moderate upcharge. Here in Barron's, we do not need to ask the guests how they would like their burgers cooked. Here in Barron's, all burgers are cooked well done. Because we do not have employed workers cooking in the kitchen, we have to cook all of our burgers well done. In other restaurants, though, if you're taking an order for a steak, burger, or even some fish, you would want to ask the guests how they would like that prepared. Rare, well done. Either way, we want to repeat that back to the guests and then write it down. Once you've taken the orders around the table, repeated them back to the guest, we're going to go bring that into the point of sale system. You'll receive training about point of sale systems at another time. For now, let's talk about some of the things that will happen in between you bringing in the order and the food coming out to the table. For appetizers, we want the food to come out within 3 to 5 minutes. For entrees, 8 to 10, and desserts, 2 to 4. After we've rung in the order, the first thing we should ask ourselves is, does the guest need anything else to go with this meal? For example, if a guest has ordered something with French fries, we want to bring out ketchup to the table. If a guest has ordered a burger or a sandwich, we want to bring out mayonnaise, mustard, and ketchup. If the guest has requested something specific that's unique, we can bring that out to the table ahead of time. We do this to make sure that the guest has everything that they need at the table when the food arrives. If a guest orders an appetizer, we want to bring sharing plates to the table before the appetizer is delivered. If there's only one guest at the table, bringing a sharing plate is not necessary. If there are 2 or more guests at the table, we want to bring each guest their own sharing plate. We treat these as if they are food items and serve them from the guest's left using our left hand. Again, we want to serve ladies first. For this example, we'll assume that there's a lady sitting in seat 1 and 3. And that there are gentlemen sitting in seats 2 and 4. You do not need to announce these plates to the guest. We only announce items such as drinks and food when we're placing them in front of the guest. This type of item would be delivered silently to the guest. Don't break up their interaction with one another if it's not necessary. If the guest has ordered something with french fries or a side of french fries, we want to deliver ketchup to the table immediately after bringing the order into the point-of-sale system. If a guest has ordered a sandwich or a hamburger, we also want to bring out mayonnaise, mustard, and ketchup to the table before the food arrives. Any other special requests that you can get on your own without having to go into the kitchen, you can bring out to the table in advance. Otherwise, we'll expect it to come with the food, as long as you bring it into the point-of-sale system. Here in Barron, our mayonnaise, mustard, and ketchup are a little bit top-heavy, so we lay them down when carrying them out to the table, and then deliver them to the table. Again, we don't need to announce these items. We can just drop them off silently and let the guests enjoy their interactions with one another. When putting them on the table, stand them up. Set them in the center if several guests will be using them. If only one guest will be using them, place them closer to that guest. If your guests have ordered dessert, you may need to preset new silverware and sharing plates. If each guest orders their own dessert, you only need to bring silverware. If the guests are sharing the dessert, we provide each guest with a sharing plate. New forks will more than likely have to be provided, since our original setting only had one fork, and the guests more than likely used it for their entree course. Line your tray with a napkin and place the silverware on it, and bring it out with your sharing plates, serving ladies first, followed by the gentlemen. Again, we're treating these items as if they're food, so we're going to carry the cocktail tray in our right hand, delivering the sharing plates with our left, and then replacing the fork. In between each course, we want to clear the table of unnecessary items. For example, after the appetizer course, we want to clear the sharing plates as well as the appetizer plate and any sauces. After the entree course, we want to clear dirty silverware, dirty plates, and any condiments that happen to be on the table, such as mayonnaise, mustard, or ketchup. After the dessert course, we want to clear dirty silverware and the sharing plates. This practice is called pre-bussing. We pre-bus in between each course to help lighten the load on the dishwasher, delivering a few items at once rather than all the items at one time. This also helps keep the table nice and tidy. Too many items on a table can look clustered, and it can make the guests feel as if they're in an unclean, cluttered environment. We also pre-bus to improve how quickly we can turn the table at the end of the dining experience. Once the guests have left, really the only thing that should be on the table are their beverages, and maybe the check. We can then come in, collect those remaining items quickly, and take them to the dishwasher. Wipe the table and reset it with clean silverware within less than 2 minutes. This is a standard for Barron's restaurant. It will fluctuate from restaurant to restaurant, and some restaurants might even have a specified busser or two. Here in Barron's, the servers are expected to bus and turn their own tables, getting them set up and ready for the next round of guests. We ask that you do this within 2 minutes, so that no table remains dirty for very long, and so we can have a continuing flow of guests into our dining room. Let's pretend that the entree course comes out just as the guests are finishing up their appetizer, so the appetizer plates are still on the table. We'll simply clear from the right and then deliver that guest's food to the left using our left hand. We'll then move on to the next female, again clearing from the right, and then stepping around and serving from the left. And we'll proceed on with each of the following guests. We'll continue to serve ladies first throughout the entire dining experience. As I clear this particular gentleman's plate and serve him his entree, I want you to notice how I handle the plate. I reach in below and try to keep as much of my hand off the plate as is possible.
You hold the plate from the bottom and have your thumb resting on the side. You do not want to have your thumb on the plate. You also don't want to have your entire hand under the plate. This makes it very difficult to get the plate off your hand and onto the table without jostling the food around.
When delivering the man's entree, we're going to do the same thing. If I have my hand on the side with my thumb resting, I can control how quickly the plate goes down and therefore reduce the amount of noise from the plate coming in contact with the table. We never want to slam the plate down. We want to take the time to set it down quietly and gently. This is how proper service is done. Take that extra time. It shows the guest that you care about what you're doing, and in the long run, will increase your tips. Every little thing matters. Where you hold the glass, how you set down the plate, how often you're around, and how much you interact. How much you interrupt can negatively affect your tips. We want to be around and available for the guest. We don't want to hover, but be nearby so that they can see you if they need something. Walk by occasionally to see if they need refills, and then refill their beverages in a timely manner. As I said, everything can affect your tip, so we want to do those things that positively affect your tip versus negatively affect it. We want to be available for our guests and provide what we call silent service. We're there if they need us, but we're quiet. We don't interrupt their actions with one another unless we need to, or unless they need us. That being said, don't be afraid to interrupt your table if you need to ask them a question. If they're interacting with one another, but you haven't taken their order yet, you can simply lean in to someone who looks like the host or the lead of the table. Sir, are you all about ready to order? He'll let you know if they need another minute. Also, he'll be the one to interrupt the interaction going on at the table, rather than you. Let's review. We just covered all of the table standards for taking a food order, delivering that order to the table, pre-setting the table before the course arrives, and pre-bussing the table in between each of the courses. That seems like a lot of information, but as you practice it, it will become very repetitive and comfortable to you. You'll take an order from a table, and you'll pre-set for the first course, then deliver that course. You'll then pre-bus, pre-set for the next course, and then deliver the next course. Pre-bus the second course, pre-set for the third, deliver the third, and so on and so forth. Practice makes perfect. So practice at home with your own cups, plates, and condiments. When you're here in Barron's or in another restaurant, you'll get plenty of practice that is very repetitive and will help you become more and more comfortable with the steps of service. As a reminder, we always serve ladies first, oldest to youngest if you can tell. When we're handling plates, we want to make sure and keep our hands off the plate. We put most of our hand under the plate with our thumb on the side, allowing for ease of drop at the table. And when I say drop, of course I mean silently placing it in front of the guest. We want to announce what we're placing in front of the guest anytime we're placing a beverage or a food item. If you're placing something such as condiments or an empty plate for sharing, you do not need to announce this to the guests. We preset before a course arrives, making sure that they have everything that they need to eat their food when it arrives to the table. We also pre-bus in between courses, removing any items that are soiled or no longer in use. For example, dirty forks and plates would be items that are soiled and need to be removed from the table and potentially replaced for the next course. Items such as condiments and sauces are items that are no longer being used, so let's get them off the table and provide room for the items for the next course. We should never see a table that is set for dessert that still has mayonnaise, mustard, or ketchup on it. Unless you plan on using ketchup on your cheesecake, I wouldn't suspect that a guest would either. So let's go ahead and get it out of there. This also frees it up for use by another table. Thank you for joining me for this segment of training on table service.